Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're all about getting to the heart of things, really understanding stuff that matters. And today we're tackling screenwriting.
Oh yeah, diving deep into the world of movies.
We've got some great insights from Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need. And we're going to focus on, the most essential question: what is it?
Yeah, that's the core, right? The heart of any movie idea.
Totally.
Mm.
And we'll also dig into how understanding genre can be a huge help when crafting those ideas.
Makes sense. So you're watching a movie, and sometimes you walk out and you're like, wait, what was that about?
Exactly. But a strong what is it makes sure that doesn't happen. It's the foundation for everything,
It's the compass. It guides you, keeps you on track.
right from the start. The book actually opens with this story of a screenwriter struggling with his logline. And a logline, for those who don't know, is like that super short summary of your movie.
A couple of sentences that really capture the essence of what it's about. Yeah, like a mini pitch. And this writer, he had all these scenes and characters, but when it came to boiling it down, it just wasn't working.
And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Because wrestling with that logline forces you to really clarify your vision.
It's not just about marketing, it's about understanding your own story better.
Totally. As you try to articulate that core idea in a concise way, the whole story starts to click into place.
Mm.
The conflicts get sharper, the characters become more well-defined.
The book also talks about this idea of test marketing your logline on civilians, like pitch it to people outside the film industry.
They're less likely to, be concerned about stealing your idea.
Exactly, which can be a big fear for new writers.
And you get those honest reactions, unfiltered feedback.
And you can see if it sparks their interest.
There's this image of the author, Blake Snyder, in a coffee shop, looking for someone approachable to pitch to.
It's like putting your idea to the test in the real world. Can you intrigue someone who's not already invested in your success?
Much tougher audience than your friends and family, that's for sure.
Absolutely. If you can hook a stranger, you might be onto something.
It all ties back to that idea of high concept. That term became big with Katzenberg and Eisner back in the Disney days.
Yeah, making the movie easier to see.
Like ruthless people, outrageous fortune.
Mhm.
Just from the title, you get a pretty good idea what the movie's about.
And even though high concept might not be the buzzword it once was, the underlying principle is timeless.
Having a clear, understandable core idea, that's never going to go out of style.
It's like being a good host to your audience.
Right. You're inviting them into your story, making it easy for them to follow along.
You're respecting their time and attention.
And it's not a new idea either. Think
Yeah.
about Preston Sturges, those classic comedies, or Hitchcock.
Rear Window, The Lady Vanishes, so many great examples.
Immediately you get a sense of the premise, even a visual.
Legally Blonde is another one. The title itself is so clever, it tells you so much.
So nailing that what is it is essential, whether you're pitching to an agent, a studio executive, or just talking about your movie with friends.
So let's break it down. The author gives us 4 key elements of a strong logline. First up, irony.
Yeah, that dramatic hook that makes you want to know more. An emotionally engaging situation, something that grabs you.
Second, a compelling mental picture.
It's almost like you can see the movie in your head just from hearing the logline.
Often a sense of urgency, like a ticking clock.
Third, the logline needs to indicate who the audience is and how much this movie might cost to make. Gives potential buyers a sense of its market and profitability.
Right. And finally, that cherry on top, a killer title.
Says what it is in a clever, concise way.
All these elements contribute to that high concept idea. And it's getting even more important now with the global film market. You want your movie to resonate with audiences worldwide.
Absolutely. So even though the term might sound a bit dated, the need for clarity for an intriguing premise that can travel is more vital than ever.
Which brings us back to testing your ideas on strangers. Get that raw, unfiltered feedback. See what sticks and what doesn't.
Refine that core concept until it's irresistible.
So you've nailed down your what is it, but the next question is, what is it most like?
And this isn't about copying or limiting your originality. It's about understanding what kind of experience your movie will be.
And for the audience too, right? They want to know what they're getting into.
Right. And this is where the author kind of slams the whole X meets Y type of pitch. It's like X-Men meets Cannonball Run.
Or Die Hard in a bowling alley. We've all heard those.
And the problem is, Those pitches are often just lazy.
Yeah.
They don't reveal a clear original concept.
It's like you're just trying to piggyback on the success of other movies.
But simply mashing two things together doesn't automatically make something new and exciting.
However, the author does say that categorizing your movie by type can be super helpful for you as a screenwriter.
Oh, yeah. It helps you understand the conventions of the genre you're working in.
What the audience expects.
And it can help you stay focused when you actually start writing.
And to help with that, he outlines 10 fundamental story types. Think of them like blueprints.
Yeah, not rigid boxes, but more like starting points.
So let's walk through them. The first one is monster in the house. Classics like Jaws, Alien, even Panic Room.
A confined space. And often, there's this idea of a sin that unleashes the monster.
Like the characters did something that brought this threat upon themselves.
Exactly. And the monster often feels like an avenging angel in a way. And it's not just about jump scares, it's about creating genuine suspense and a fresh take on the monster itself.
The author actually criticizes arachnophobia for not being scary enough and not having a strong sense of confinement.
Yeah, it fell a little flat in those aspects. But the core idea, the myth of the Minotaur and the Labyrinth, that's classic monster in the house.
Okay, second story type. Golden Fleece. We're talking quest narratives. Star Wars, The Wizard of Oz, even something like planes, trains, and automobiles.
It's all about the journey, right? The hero sets out to find something, but what they really discover is themselves.
The episodic nature is key here. Each encounter, each obstacle along the way has to contribute to the hero's internal growth.
And it's not just about reaching the destination. It's about how the journey changes the hero. And interestingly, the author includes heist movies in this category too.
Yeah, because even though they have that external goal of pulling off the heist, the characters often go through significant personal transformations along the way.
Right. The score becomes secondary to what they learn about themselves and each other.
Next up, out of the bottle. Think wish fulfillment, like in Liar Liar, Bruce Almighty, or even classic Disney movies like The Love Bug.
Yeah. And the flip side, where a wish becomes a curse, like Groundhog Day.
Always with a lesson learned by the end.
Wish fulfillment really taps into that universal human desire. Like, what if I suddenly had this power?
And the magic can come from anywhere. A genie, a lucky charm, a chance encounter.
The key is exploring the consequences of that wish, both the good and the bad. And in those comeuppance stories, you often have a flawed character who ends up better off because of the curse.
Right. It forces them to confront their flaws and ultimately grow, like in Freaky Friday.
Number 4, dude with a problem. Pretty self-explanatory.
An average person thrust into extraordinary circumstances.
Die Hard, Schindler's List, Breakdown. So many great examples.
It's relatable because we can all imagine ourselves in that situation, and the author points out that the more ordinary the dude, the greater the impact.
And the bigger the problem, the more heroic the dude's actions become.
Okay, number 5, rites of passage. These are stories about those life transitions, those moments of growth and change that we all go through.
Puberty, midlife crises, dealing with loss.
Often painful but relatable. Think 10, Ordinary People, Days of Wine and Roses, movies about facing those tough challenges that force you to evolve.
And the monster in these stories isn't something tangible. It's often life itself, or maybe a specific challenge or addiction.
Yeah. And a lot of times, everyone around the hero can see what's happening, what needs to change.
But the hero is the last one to get it.
And it's that slow realization, that gradual coming to terms with reality. That's the heart of the story.
Moving on to buddy love. Now this goes way beyond just buddy cop movies.
Right. The author argues that it's basically a love story in disguise.
Whether it's romantic or platonic.
And he even says that all love stories are buddy movies, just with the potential for, something more.
Think about 48 Hours, Thelma and Louise. Even animated movies like Finding Nemo fit this structure.
And romantic comedies too, right? Bringing Up Baby, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. They all have that buddy movie dynamic.
Yeah, it's that initial conflict, that clash of personalities. Then they realize they need each other. They're incomplete without each other.
And there's usually a big blow up, a separation, before that final reconciliation where they both have to swallow their pride.
And sometimes one buddy acts as a catalyst for the other's growth.
Like in Rain Man or E.T., the classic boy and his dog story.
Exactly. Okay, next up, why It? We're talking about mysteries where the focus isn't just on solving the crime.
It's about uncovering the motivations, the why behind it all.
Like in Chinatown, JFK, Citizen Kane. Complex stories that delve into the dark side of human nature.
And often, it's the audience that acts as the detective. We piece together the clues alongside the protagonist.
And usually there's a big reveal, something shocking that makes you question things.
Makes you think about the world, about your own assumptions.
Okay, number 8, the fool triumphant. This is the classic underdog story. The character who seems clueless but somehow comes out on top.
And often, it's because they're underestimated. Think about Forrest Gump being there, all those great Bill Murray movies.
The fool often has this hidden wisdom or innocence that allows them to cut through the BS and see things more clearly.
They're not afraid to challenge the establishment, to poke fun at the status quo.
And it's so satisfying to watch them succeed. It gives us hope.
All right, moving on to institutionalized. These are stories about groups, institutions, systems, and the tension between the individual and the collective.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, American Beauty, Mash Ash, great examples.
You often have a breakout character who challenges the norms, exposes the flaws of the institution.
Yeah, and these stories often highlight the absurdities of group dynamics, that herd mentality that can lead to some crazy situations.
Like in Animal House, Office Space, movies that show the funny and sometimes frustrating side of being part of a group.
And finally, we have superhero, the flip side of dude with a problem.
It's an extraordinary person living in an ordinary world.
And not just capes and tights. Think Gladiator, A Beautiful Mind, stories about people who have exceptional abilities or talents.
It's about the challenges of being different, the burden of those abilities.
And the importance of the origin story, especially in those first movies. It's about making the audience understand and sympathize with the hero's struggles.
Because even though we can't all relate to having superpowers, we can relate to that feeling of being misunderstood.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. But the key takeaway is this. Understanding these concepts, the what is it, and these 10 story types, gives you a powerful framework for thinking about movies.
Whether you're watching them or writing them.
It's about understanding how stories work, what makes them tick.
And how to connect with an audience.
So the next time you watch a movie, ask yourself, what is it? What is it most like?
And think about your own life story. What is it?
What genre best describes your current journey?
Because we're all living out our own narratives, aren't we?
We sure are.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
See you next time.
And keep on learning.
Always be curious.
See you later.